Hello, everyone. Once again, we are live with Ghost Talks. I have a really special guest this evening, John Moore from O.P.R.I, which stands for Ottawa Paranormal Research and Investigations. John has been around for quite a long time in the paranormal field, and his expertise is in demonology. This is a I wanted to bring this subject up because it's something that we don't really talk about a lot when it comes to the paranormal field, and I think John has been around this subject for such a long time, and that's why I'm so happy to have him with us this evening. So, without any hesitation, please welcome John Moore. Hey, John.
Hey Dan, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. You?
Ah, just another day in paradise. Thanks for having me.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Paradise, right? We like to think of it as paradise, right? But they say when we die, that's where paradise is.
Eh,
So they, eh,
theoretically, there's times where
the-
it depends on where you go. Like different religions have different views on it. Some believe that paradise is here. Some believe that that's why we're reincarnated. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's all in what your belief is.
Pretty much, yeah. I kind of have that
Mhm.
belief too that we're here to learn some kind of lesson, and we kind of it's like here's like a school, right? So we're here to learn, and if you fail, you die, you come back, and you have to do the whole goddamn thing over again,
Yeah,
more or less. Okay,
that's yeah.
okay. So, subject of discussion. So, how long have you been in the field, John? Like, like tell me your background. Like, how long have you been in the field, and how did you get into the paranormal?
Oh, there's people that actually say I was pretty much born into it because I was born to a family of undertakers and I grew up in a funeral home.
Hmm.
I saw my first full body apparition actually at 8 years old in the family funeral home, and it
Oh my
was
god, yeah, sir.
yeah, it was my great grandfather who he died. I was 3 months old when he died, so I never actually met him or knew him. But
Hmm.
my dad was cleaning up one night after a wake in the chapel, and the bottom of the stairs we had a showcase room for caskets, and we also had a morgue area where we keep bodies that were waiting for their wakes and things. But
Hmm.
there was a man. I looked down and I saw a man wait smiling and waving to me. So I waved to him and I said hi. And then he walked out of sight. And my dad came out of the chapel asking who I was talking to. I told him there's a man downstairs. So he went down to take a look, thinking maybe it was one of the people that got lost after the wake that night.
Yep.
Turns out there was nobody there. It
Wow.
wasn't until about 5 years later I was looking at pictures of my grandmother, and she showed me a picture of my great grandfather that I'd never met, and that's the man I had seen.
And you'd
He
never
was
met you had never met him before.
no, I had never met him.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
as I mentioned, he is also the one who started the funeral home. So he was a
okay.
firm believer in the paranormal, and he was the one. He actually used to say to the family that spirits won't bother us because we give them their final dignity on Earth.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my
Okay, well
family's been
that's
into it forever.
so yeah, so it makes sense that if you say you were born into it because yeah, this was your great grandfather or grandfather?
My great grandfather.
Great grandfather, okay, which
Yeah.
obviously you would have never met him because he would have been much older.
Hmm.
That's actually a pretty cool story. The fact that you actually identified him after the fact with a picture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is very cool.
Mhm.
Okay. So so your background again, so is that the reason why you got into the paranormal field because of that first experience you had when you were 8 years old?
That piqued my curiosity for sure, but I didn't officially start as an investigator and researcher until I was about 15, which would have been 1995, which we're coming up on, I believe, 30 years now in the field.
You don't want to date yourself, John. Don't tell people how old you are. I'm pretty sure you're close to my age. I'm sure of that, but
Oh yeah,
we
no,
don't when we get our age, we don't want to date ourselves. We don't want anybody to know how old we are.
oh I know we've been around for a while, so at this point
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Yeah. It's all downhill from now, John.
Oh, I know, but no, it's with mostly in parapsychology, like reading things from Lloyd Orbach, Hans Holzer, uh, Michael Persinger, uh, different things like that. I was also reading things by Ed and Lorraine Warren on demonology, things
Hmm.
like that. And that's how I
Yeah,
got my start, was studying these books and learning what I could about the field itself.
yeah, yeah. So you started at a very young age then like
Yeah.
in your teens, which I think most of us were just at that age. We're going out to bars and drinking, trying to pick up girls or something like that. But you were actually studying the paranormal, especially
Mhm.
the Lorraine group. Um, they were like pioneers, I think, in the paranormal field back in the '70s. I mean, they really kind of opened up a lot of doors for the teams that are existing today.
They did for sure. Like, they were the ones who would actually go out and put it out that that's what they did. I mean, a lot of parapsychologists would as well, but they were never given the attention that Ed and Lorraine Warren were. So they were really the basis for what makes it accept like makes people accept what we do now.
Yeah, yeah. I guess when they first started out, they must have been frowned upon. Like they people must have thought, okay, you guys are crazy, and I think yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to actually do what they
Mhm.
did.
Oh, definitely. Like, they were frowned upon. They were called frauds, charlatans. They were called hoaxers. Like, they went through all of that, and they still kept
Hmm.
doing it just because they didn't do it because people were cheering them on or clapping them on the back or anything. They did it because that's what they wanted to do, and they knew it
Hmm.
had to be done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think yourself and myself, and I think anybody who's got a team out there who does what we do, I think we all have a belief that this exists. There's a reason why we do it. It's a hobby, of course, because we don't get paid for what we do. But
Mhm.
I'm assuming yourself as myself, we know we've had experiences and we know it exists, and now we're just trying to capture evidence of it, right?
Exactly.
More or
Just trying
less,
to
yeah.
find and trying to find answers for some of these
Yeah.
things, like what's causing this? Like, how is this happening?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm, mhm. And I think for me as well, it's as we get older, but I'm not gonna date myself, is, and it's weird, I have this weird fear of death. I don't know why. I fear death. I like my life. I wanna
Mhm.
stick around for a while. If I could be bitten by a vampire and live forever, I'd probably say, "Yeah, go ahead, bite me." But
Mhm.
I know that's not possible, but it's trying to find out, am I going to exist after this physical body is gone? Is my energy going to exist after? And I think for me that's a big motivator, is I want to find out, is there something after? I know I'm probably not going to find out. I mean, it's very tough to do, but I
Mhm.
think that's what motivates us. There's that motivation of finding out what goes on after we die.
That's definitely one thing. I know for me, I know that there's something because I've seen too much. I've seen too many things, so I know that after we pass from here, we enter some other the next level, next realm, whichever way you want to say it. But there is definitely going to be something there. It's not just the big dirt nap
Hmm.
and then everything goes black.
Yeah,
I mean, there's too. If you look around, like I remember when I was a kid, my brother used to talk about his grandfather's farm, which
mm.
we didn't have a grandfather with one, and he had multiple detailed stories, and he actually could pinpoint exactly where it was on a map and everything.
Hmm.
So for him, that I believe now, all these years later, that he was still in having past life regressions.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
definitely, I do believe that there is something else after this. What it
Yeah,
is, that's the question, and that's
yeah.
the thing that again, I'd like to get answers for as well, although there's only one way to get them and there ain't no coming back, if you know what I mean.
No, no. Well, unless we can do like the movie Flatliners. Now, that's a question. If no, if you could, would you do that? Would you allow yourself to
Ugh,
flatline to be able to come back? No, not knowing that you might not come back? Would
I
you
would
actually try
I
that?
w I would not do it intentionally, no. I would
No?
never do it
No.
intentionally.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I'm so curious about what happens after we die. If
Mhm,
I'm guaranteed I'll come back and not come with a third eye or my nose different in a different spot of my face, I'd probably try it. I don't think that's possible. It's just a movie, but interesting to know if we can actually, and people talk about past life experiences
mhm,
where people, they die and then they see themselves floating over their body, and then they describe the scene, and they're technically dead, but when they come back they describe the scene exactly
mhm.
as it happened. But if you're technically dead on the table, how can you know that? So there's got to be something after. There's got to be something going on.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
those near death experiences like that that tell us that there is something beyond where this plane, this place where we are now. And
Yeah.
that's the thing that most people are looking for one, but there's still a lot that don't believe it. And some people are still scared when they get like of what they're going to go into. Because
Hmm.
the whole heaven and hell idea. It's like, am I going to be on the good side of it, or am I going to the bad place? So
Yeah, yeah, I think we all ask ourselves that question. It's like,
yeah,
where am I going, up or down?
yeah, exactly.
It's like, I'm not sure where I wanna go. I mean, some people say, would you rather serve in heaven or party in hell? Not sure, but, we're not gonna bring up the religion subject at this point,
Yeah,
because that's a whole new show. Okay,
exactly.
so tell me, there's two things. Tell me about your team. So you, O.P.R.I, which stands for Ottawa Paranormal Research and Investigation. So when again did you establish your team? And tell me a little bit more about your team, your members, and what it is you do.
Mhm. Well, I established the team in 2012. I had worked with a few other teams in the area, and I just found the people I were working with, they were just mimicking television shows. None of them actually had looked into like the background of what they were doing or why they were using these things or how they were actually used. So
Hmm.
I got fed up eventually, and I formed my own team. And the team I formed, I like to feel like my team has become a family because we've all been together for years. We're all always together. We work together 100% as a unit. I have professionals from all walks of life. Like
Yeah.
I have a number of medical professionals that are on the team. I have a couple of people who were almost psychologists. They've worked with the Canadian Mental Health Association, places like
Hmm.
that. So I have a couple of them on the team. I have mediums on the team that I've actually put them in touch with parapsychologists like Lloyd Orbach and stuff so that he could verify these people are legit. And
Hmm.
he's used them in some of his research. Uh, and then I have just myself and people like me that are tradesmen that we've been to houses, we've done things, so we know like when something is going wrong in a house, we can actually figure out, is there a natural cause for it or is
Yeah.
there some other reason.
Yeah. And
So
I think
we're
go ahead, John.
oh, I was gonna say, so we're pretty much a mismatch of like uh, all walks of life, but everybody on the team has their own job and they all know how to do it, and it's
Hmm.
worked very well for us all these years.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing with doing what we do is always trying to find out if there's a natural cause for what might be occurring in somebody's house, and then maybe you're left with something paranormal after. And this is something I say so often. You need to
Mhm,
debunk first, and then figure out what you're left with
mhm.
after, and then maybe that's paranormal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the first thing we do is we go in and we look for something natural.
Yeah,
Like there's got
exactly, and
like
that's
what could naturally be doing this, and
yeah.
we'll go through with a fine tooth comb to find something. If we can't find anything, then
Hmm.
becomes okay. We need to replicate this to make sure that this is actually what's going on, and then when
Yeah,
we see it, we can actually look at okay, this is what we're dealing with.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same approach I used to take to fixing a vehicle as an auto
Hmm.
mechanic. People would come in
Yeah.
and tell me this is what's wrong with my car. I take it out, and we all know you bring your car to the mechanic, it never does it for the mechanic, right?
Never does it. No, never.
No, but there's times when it does, and that's what I need to make sure of. It's like, okay, I verified the concern. This is what's happening. Now it's
Hmm.
time to what is causing this.
Yeah, yeah,
See,
and I think
like
that's
I don't like to use the word debunk because we don't I because debunking is trying to disprove. What I
disprove.
like
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, what I try to do is I try to like this is what's happening. I
Hmm.
want to find an answer for why.
Yeah, that's a
Because
good that's a really good point to have. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, because these
yeah,
people are experiencing something, obviously, otherwise they wouldn't call us. So we want to
yeah.
find out
Exactly.
why this is happening,
Yeah, that's
not
a very good.
disprove what's happening to them.
Yeah, that's a very good point actually. So I have a couple of comments here by Heath. Heath, checking the brain can live for 2 minutes without air. I think it can live for a lot longer than 2 minutes. I think without oxygen. I think the brain was it maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I think without oxygen.
If you look on Parliament Hill, they got some of them up there that for 60 years.
Okay, guys, the show's over. We got to kind of log off now. That's it. We're done. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. We don't want to talk about Parliament Hill, but good point. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I won't. I
no,
won't.
I do
Yeah,
believe it is up to 5-10 minutes in some circumstances where the brain can
yeah,
survive without oxygen before
yeah.
going
And I
completely
think,
brain dead.
yeah. Well, that's Parliament Hill. But anyways, yeah, I've heard that even in certain cases when people fall, like let's say in a freezing body of water, the brain can go much longer without oxygen and still survive because it slows down, right? So it can
Yeah.
even be longer than 2 minutes. So
Mhm.
Heath, I hope this kind of answers your question. Now we have Cheryl here, McKee, who's part of the Night Watchman investigative team, and I'm actually doing some joint investigations with them. Thanks for showing up, Cheryl. So Cheryl says, yeah, debunk first. Absolutely. So you don't like to use the word debunk, but the why of what is happening is what you
Yeah.
prefer to use. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Like
kind of like the same thing, but not debunk. We're not trying to disprove. We want to find out what is going on, right?
we want to find an answer, whether it's natural, paranormal, but we just want to find an answer for these people so they know what's happening in their house.
Because a lot of people are afraid because they don't understand it, not like us. They don't
Yeah,
want to go. They don't go out chasing around for this kind of stuff. It just happens. We like to go chasing around for it, and that's why they call us to find out what is going on in their place.
exactly.
Okay. Now, quick question, and we'll get to the main topic. I'm very anxious to get to the main topic. So, as far as equipment, John, and I ask this to everybody that comes on the show, what is your favorite piece of equipment? Like, what is it you like to use the most? Is it audio, video? Is it maybe an EMF meter of some kind? Like, what is it you like the most?
For me, it's mostly the audio. Uh, I find that the best thing, like the things we catch the most, are generally with the auto recorders, and I
Yeah.
find those are the ones that give us the best results. However, there's one
Mhm.
piece right now I'm waiting to try that I got it just before the pandemic, and of course we've had to, like most teams, we've had to stop the majority of our operations
Oh
because
yeah,
of it.
yeah. All of us.
But yeah, but we get this one piece from a friend of mine in Florida who builds equipment. It's a laser audio system.
Okay.
Uh, Now this is
Never
based
heard of that
on
one.
yeah, well, this is actually
Yeah.
based on 1950s KGB technology. Uh,
Okay.
at the embassies, like the KGB would try to listen in at the American embassies, but the embassies all had a soundproof room. So a
Hmm.
KGB agent found that he could shine a laser at the soundproof windows, and it would reflect off the inside of the room, and it would come back to a receiver, and the
Hmm.
vibrations that were changed there would translate into actual audio. So
Okay.
they were able to use that to spy on the Americans, and they did that through the Cold War using this technology through their soundproof rooms. So
Hmm.
we've actually adapted this to be used on a paranormal investigation, where
Cool.
we're gonna set this up, and it's basically gonna be left in a room. I'm gonna isolate the rooms. We don't want any of us coming through and getting caught on it.
Yeah.
But the receiver and everything is all gonna be in there, and I'm anxious to see how this is actually gonna work. Like
It's
I'm
interesting. It's interesting to try different equipment, right? Because we don't really know what works, what doesn't. I mean, there's so many gadgets out there, spirit boxes and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and we don't really know what works and what doesn't. So I think that's what we do as paranormal investigators is try different things, invent different things,
Mhm.
because we don't really know what a ghost is, what kind of energy it is, how should we capture it. If you want to capture, I don't know, a fish, then we know you use a fishing line and a net.
Yeah,
We know how to capture a
exactly.
fish. But how do you capture a ghost? How do you capture audio? We don't really know. So we have to try
Mhm.
all these pieces of equipment and try to invent new things to help the paranormal field.
Exactly. And to this day, we're still fighting the battle with telling people, like, we can't even prove that ghosts really exist, unfortunately. Like,
Nope.
realistically, we can't.
Nope.
And
Nope. We have.
we're still working towards the technology to be able to do that. Like,
Mhm.
theoretically, yes, it's possible, but how do you prove that? I
No.
mean,
No. That's the whole
that's
point.
where we're at. That's one of the biggest questions in parapsychology is how do we prove consciousness?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it really a form of energy? I mean, the old line with Einstein, you can't, energy doesn't dissipate. It has to be reabsorbed somewhere else. And we know
Yep.
for a fact that the human body and all living things is a form of energy because our brains
Hmm.
work with electrical impulses. So when we die, that energy's got to go somewhere. So what we're
And
trying to
that's
do is how do you capture it?
Yeah, and that's one of the theories behind psi energy from parapsychology, and that's what they're trying to figure out. How can we prove this?
Yeah.
because it is something that we don't know how to measure. We don't know how to pick it up, and yeah, it's that's the big problem with the paranormal and why everyone says it's pseudoscience, because right now we're just not at the level of technology where we can make these things proven 100%.
Yeah, yeah, and it is pseudoscience. I mean, we don't really know um,
Mhm.
how to capture it. I mean, but it's fun to try. Of course, it's fun. That's why we do it, and we do sometimes capture some good audio. We capture some good
Mhm.
video as well, but all the other stuff, like it's captures, but not proof. That's the whole point,
Exactly.
right? Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. So I'm going to ask you now. So how long have you been in the parallel? You started when you were 15. I'm not going to, if you say so, we're going to know how old you are. So how about we
It's
just say
getting
you
close to 30 years.
30 years, so you're probably in your
Yeah.
40s, 50s, close to me anyways.
I'm in my
So
40s, yeah.
okay.
I
Well,
don't
at least
mind.
at least you're not like me, 50s. 40s is good. You're still on the up climb, John. When you get to
Yeah.
50s, it's on the down climb. Trust me, I'm going downhill. Anyways, so through your years of investigating the paranormal, what would be your most memorable paranormal experience, or um, either negative or positive? What would that be?
The most memorable one would probably be the first exorcism I was at, because
Mm.
that was a very intense day. It was just something that I'll never forget. It's been etched in my head forever,
Yeah,
and it just it's one of those things you never forget.
yeah. I've never attended an exorcism, so I can't
Mhm.
even form an opinion of what that might feel like to attend an exorcism. I mean, we've all seen the movie The Exorcist, which is extremely exaggerated, obviously.
Uh,
Um,
Actually, most of those movies, believe it or not, they tame it down. It's so much
oh,
worse.
seriously, so
It's
much worse than that.
actually it's actually so much worse in reality that
Yeah,
it can't even be explained. Like,
but the head doesn't go 360 though.
oh no, none of that.
No, no,
You
not
can't defy the rules of physics like that.
no,
I
but
mean,
but do you mean emotionally it's a lot worse than that?
emotionally, it's a lot worse, and it's a toll
Okay,
on everyone there. And
yeah, I
the
can
other thing
imagine.
too is anyone there could become the next victim. So you've got
Yeah,
that in the back of your head as well. So you have to
yeah,
try to put all this out, because any fear, anything like that, it's going to latch onto and it's going to try to use against you. So you have
yeah.
to try to hold all these thoughts out of your head at the same
Mhm.
time as trying to help these people.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a dangerous situation. So we have a
Mhm.
question here from Lawrence, which Lawrence is the one of my new additions to my team. Hi, Lawrence. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. This is the first time she tunes in. So Lawrence is a new investigator part of Ghost, and her
Mhm.
question is, as you can read, John, has John ever been to any locations that Ed and Lorraine have been to? The Conjuring House, especially. Have you been to those places, John?
I have not had the opportunity yet to be to them, but I have been invited a few times by people. So
Hmm.
hopefully, once the pandemic's done, I'm going to be doing a little more traveling, and I can get down and check out some of these.
Yeah, I think the pandemic has affected all teams as far as trying to get into locations, even private residences because of the pandemic. It's wreaked havoc on all of us. I think every single team out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, even my own team. One of my team members, she actually spent 6 weeks in ICU on a ventilator,
Hmm.
and her son was the first person under 16 in the province of Ontario to end up in ICU.
That's terrible. It's a
So
terrible disease. Terrible
yeah,
disease.
yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, we decided as a team, especially with medical professionals on our team, to actually just we're shutting down. We're not doing anything until this is all passed, because it's
Yeah.
too dangerous for everyone involved.
Yeah, we haven't done much either. I mean, we just recently did a pre-investigation at a private
Hmm.
residence, and we're actually contemplating whether or not we're going to return. We like to figure out, is it really haunted, or is maybe the person suffering from emotional issues, that they may be manifesting some activity. So we're
Yeah.
determining that. But of course, we went in there, kept our hands clean. This was an elderly woman, so we had to wear a mask, and it's
Hmm.
not, it's tough. It's tough to get into locations right now because of the pandemic, and I think it's
Oh,
it's like that for everybody.
absolutely. But I mean, at the same time, it has to be. I mean, we shouldn't be out doing, like, especially private homes where you don't know
Hmm.
whose house it is, who's
Yeah.
coming in. And as I mentioned, some of my personnel are medical personnel. They're tested almost daily
Hmm.
to make sure that they don't have this. And if they were to go
Yeah.
into an elderly woman's home, as you were, and one of
Yeah.
them actually happened to have it, what could happen? I mean,
Yeah.
we just
Exactly.
we just don't want to take that chance.
No.
And
No.
I'm sure about 90% of teams out there are in the same boat. You don't want to take that chance.
Well, we didn't want either, but this elderly woman, she kept emailing me, "Please, please come. There's some stuff going on. I think I'm going crazy," and I think a lot of people say that because they don't understand.
Hmm.
And I tried to comfort her and say, "Listen, you're not going crazy. We believe in this." I said, "If you're crazy, then I'm crazy because I'm trying to find out what's going on." So, and
Hmm.
so we decided, let's do it, but let's be very cautious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why did you the main subject of discussion, why did you get into demonology? What spurred your why did you get into that?
I was thrown into it, kicking and screaming, as most
Like you
demonologists
said, your
are.
family, yeah, because it ran in your family,
No,
right?
that it was nothing to do with that actually.
Hmm.
Um, when you're a I learned this the hard way, and most people who are demonologists will tell you the same. We didn't want to get into demonology.
Hmm.
Like none of us wanted this.
Yeah.
We were chosen. We were picked for some reason, and that's how we ended up there. You call it fate, God's will, whatever you want, but
Yeah.
this happened. I mean, there are exorcists that can go their entire life and never see a true demonic case.
Hmm.
And then 24 hours after my website is up, I'm on like page 20 of Google.
Hmm.
I get a call about a possible demonic case. The next thing
Hmm.
I know, I've found an exorcist, and it just snowballed from there. And since then,
Hmm.
I've been involved with demonology because it seems like a lot of times I get a call, it's something demonic related. I get calls from other teams. I've actually had calls from the Catholic Church asking me to go investigate locations that they believe could be something
Hmm.
demonic, and they want our opinion to see, like, is this demonic or is there something else going on? Like, do I need to send a priest in, or can you guys figure out another option?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you don't aspire to do this, because when you're a demonologist, you're living in almost a living hell,
Yeah.
because
I can imagine.
they know you, and they
Yeah.
don't like you because you're the enemy, and
Yeah.
they will do everything. They may not be able to touch you because there are gifts that, from what I've under been told by the people who have taught me and all, there are certain gifts that demonologists have. One
Hmm.
is they have the gift. What is the word of it? One is the gift of protection, and
Okay.
the other one is the gift of guidance, almost, where they would
Hmm.
be. It's a psychic that can essentially tell when something's demonic and when it's not.
Okay.
And otherwise, there's, like myself, I don't have that psychic ability, but I'm protected. But they
Hmm.
can still lash out at those around me.
Hmm. So I
So,
guess when you get into demonology, a lot of it has to do with your faith. Like what? Because I mean, demonology, demons. I mean, personally, I mean, this is just my own opinion. I don't believe in demons. I believe in negative, positive energy. I mean,
mhm,
sometimes I assume that maybe people call it a demon because they want to put a face on it or some kind of title. I'm not saying it doesn't
mhm,
exist because, as we said, we don't know. We don't know what's beyond. I mean, maybe demons do exist. That's just my own personal opinion,
mhm.
but we really don't know what it is. And I'm assuming with the demons and stuff, has a lot to do with a lot of different religions. It's like a faith. It's something you believe in. You have to believe in it to be a demonologist, obviously.
You do, but at the same time, you're right. There are a lot of times where people will be saying, "Oh, this is a demon," and I'll go in, and it's like, no, it's just a human spirit who's a jerk.
Yeah.
You know, like, he was a jerk in
Yeah,
life. He's a jerk
they
now. I
can
mean,
yeah, they can be jerks sometimes.
yeah, it's like there's certain things that we
Yeah.
look for. Like, there's certain things that demonologists will look for that'll be the proof that this is a true demon and not
Yeah.
just some other type of negative energy. Because I mean, we hear all the time about elementals,
Hmm.
spectral parasites, things like that. And
Yeah.
I've come across cases where these are there, but the paranormal investigators, because they've watched a little bit too much of a certain show starring Frodo's steroid pumping brother. Um, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or everything's a demon, they immediately jump to that conclusion, and then I get a call
Yeah.
and I go in and it's yeah, this is there's no demon in here, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But usually the family is very refreshed to hear that, especially when we
Yeah. I
can
would
find an
assume so.
actual answer. But yeah,
Yeah.
I it does happen, although it is incredibly rare. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
of the cases we get, you know as well as I do, about 80% of them turn out to have a natural cause.
Yeah, most
Of
of them,
those,
80 to 90%, it's a natural causes or self manifestation for some kind of emotional issue that people might be going through.
exactly,
Um, so, yeah,
exactly,
very rarely do we actually capture, like,
yeah,
the places are actually haunted, so to speak.
yeah, and of those, it's less than 0.01% chance that it's going
Yeah.
to be a demonic. So
So it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen often, right?
it doesn't happen often. I mean,
No,
I encounter it more than others because of my specialty. I'm called specifically for those.
for
But
that. Yeah.
even still, out of the all the cases I've done over the years, I've maybe encountered four truly demonic cases.
Hmm.
And of those, the majority were just lesser, minor things attached to the land that
Yeah.
our priest was able to remove very quickly and easily.
Okay. Okay. Now, what about the how do people get into demonology? You said you were basically thrown into it, but let's say if
Mhm.
somebody wants to actually get into it, how would they do that? Would they have to approach the church or go to a certain type of group or
Well, nowadays there are groups out there on Facebook. The first thing I would like anyone who actually wanted to, the first thing I would do is I would contact people that have been in the field of it for a while, talk to
Mhm.
them, and they can tell you. Like I do know one of my good friends passed away a few years ago, Kenneth Deal. He was a
Mhm.
demonologist out of the States. Very, very intelligent man, very
Yeah.
smart. He actually wrote a series of books. I've got a couple of them. I've read through them, and they give you a lot of information, um, things like that. Like just do your research, learn your stuff, and yes, reaching out to the church doesn't hurt either.
Yeah.
Most times they won't speak to you about it just because they don't. They try to keep
It's
that a
kind
little close. They try to
it's
keep that
kind of
close
like
to their chest.
a taboo subject I would say, right?
Yeah, they like to
Yeah,
keep it
they
close to their.
don't yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like to let it out, and even then, they don't want people to know how, because the more you know about it, the more your chance. Like demons are around us all the time.
Mhm.
Spirits, demons, they're all around us all the time, and usually we can just walk by them and they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't give it. They don't notice us. We don't notice them. Blah. You know what I mean.
Mhm.
But the more you know about them, it's like pieces on a chessboard. The more you know about
Mhm.
them, you're putting it to that chessboard.
Yeah.
So as a demonologist, and the things I've done with assisting in exorcisms, assisting in demonic cases, things like that, they will notice me.
Mhm.
I'm now on that chessboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So you're like one of the major players.
no, I wouldn't even say that.
No?
We'd be more like the pawns.
The pawns, yeah, there's bigger,
Yeah,
as we say, bigger
the
fish to
major
fry.
players, exactly.
Yeah.
The major players would
Yes.
be like the archangels, the Sephirim, all those, and then there's us, who would be essentially pawns.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
For the bottom of the food chain.
Yep.
Okay,
And
so we have
we've got to deal with the kings and queens coming at us. So
yeah, and those are the
you
big guys.
see, yeah.
Okay, so we have a question here from, Marie. What is a demon? How would you describe it?
Demons are very, very powerful supernatural entities. Um, when we encounter one,
Yeah.
like you know when you've encountered a demon, because the thing about them is they'll try to mimic the paranormal activity that we know, but you'll notice because of the intensity, the frequency, and just there's subtle little things about it that are so much different than say a human
Mhm.
spirit. That's what we look for.
Okay, so there's, like, specific traits that you look for which would identify it as that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good answer. Good answer. So Cheryl here, part of Night Watchman, she has another question. Has a demonic entity ever identified itself to you by name?
Yes.
Yes, and we're gonna leave it at that.
You never
The
speak.
way you
You
said that,
never. Yeah.
yes, and I'm not gonna go any further.
Yeah. No.
So that answers Cheryl's question. So yes, it
Yeah.
has.
That's one thing too. You never want to speak their names, especially
No.
if they know you, because the best way it was described to me was by my priest, and he basically said people would tell him, why can't I say their name? I could say the name of a demon right now, and how do I know he's not gonna do anything? He said the same thing that I told you before, where they're always around,
Mhm.
and if you say your wife's name when she's in the other room, what's she gonna do?
Well, she's gonna come to you, right?
Exactly.
Well, no, mine doesn't. She just ignores me completely, but that's fine.
Well, the demons won't, but
The demons won't. Well,
no, but
sometimes my
yeah.
wife can be a demon, but I mean, she's a good one. She's a good demon. She's a
we,
good
we
demon.
c- we'll edit that in post.
Yeah, exactly it's live, John. We can't do that. It's friggin' live, John. We can't do
Well,
that.
I
My
hope.
wife is in the kitchen right now hearing me, so I'm in deep
Oh,
shit later. Okay.
yeah, but
So
no, when you do say their name, it
yeah,
doesn't mean they're gonna come every time, but
yeah,
if they're around, or if something is around that would hear it,
yeah,
there's a chance they could, and that's
yeah,
just not a chance you want to take.
yeah, that's true. That's you don't be messing around with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, okay, so I could ask you the question, how many people are into demonology these days, but I'm assuming that's not a question you'd be able to answer. I mean, it's probably all over the
It's
world, and it's all. I mean, it's part of history. We've heard about it for a long time. There's movies.
yeah.
I mean, I've heard about demonology since I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Some odd
It was
years.
in.
I'm not gonna say how many
Yeah.
years, but some a certain amount of years.
I even
55
heard of
years.
it. I even heard of it in some songs in the '90s where they were talking about it. Like I
Yeah.
think it was one of the Cranberry songs. Silverchair or Serial Joe did one too with that. But yeah, it's been around a long time, and
Yeah.
to tell you how many are involved in it, I couldn't even begin to guess.
Mhm. I think it could even go back like thousands of years.
Oh,
I don't know
absolutely.
about the ancients, Egyptian hieroglyphics and all that. So I'm
Hmm.
sure there's some kind of reference to that kind of stuff. So there's got to be something to it. I mean, if you have so many civilizations that talk about it, even in our modern day, we talk about it. You
Hmm.
actually do it. There's got to be something. I mean, personally, like I said, I don't believe in it. But if I can't prove that it's not true, then it doesn't mean it's not true, right? So it's all based on
Hmm.
belief. It's what we believe in. So
Exactly.
I do have a feeling it's kind of like saying I feel there's something after death, but I can't prove it. And I can say, demons, I don't really believe in it, but I can't say it doesn't exist. So what you're doing right now, you're actually paving a whole new kind of road and say, listen, let's investigate this and see if it's true. It's kind of like it's no different than trying to find out if ghosts are real or investigating
Hmm.
demons. The same thing. It's just a different kind of entity.
Essentially, yeah. However,
Yeah.
when we're doing like just investigating the regular ghosts, paranormal things like that, it's a lot easier to say the truth, because
I can imagine. Yeah.
it's not as in depth, and it doesn't take as long, because generally as soon as I find something, and we do get to the point where we discern it to be a demon, at
Yeah.
that point, that's one of the rules of engagement. And at that
Yeah.
point, I'm telling my team, okay, everybody out. I just need the specialized crew that has done these before to come in. This is not
Yeah.
something where you would take a rookie or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah. So we have Brandon here, which watches every time. So Brandon's got I think here a comment or a question. King James, saying King the common Buke was attributed, wrote a book about it, I think. King James? I don't know if you know anything about that, John. It has
I
to do with the Bible. He says the Bible.
Yeah,
The King James Bible, I guess. They must have talked about demons and stuff like that.
they do have quite a few things in there. I actually have a copy of a Bible downstairs called the Spiritual Warfare Bible.
Yeah.
It's designed specifically for what I do.
What you do,
And
okay.
yeah, there are different passages and things highlighted in there, and yeah, they do speak of the demonic in there at places. They do talk about it, and there are a number of books that were actually excluded from the Bible by the Council of Nice when it was written, because they didn't think the
Oh,
king
okay.
would
Council of
want them.
Nicaea, yeah. Yeah, when they had
Yeah,
that big grouping and then they decided,
yeah,
okay, this is how things are
yeah.
gonna go.
This is in, this is out, and some of that was
Yeah.
because the king won't like this, so we'll leave it out. But there are
Yeah.
certain books from that speak on other things, which would lead us more towards the demons and stuff. Although there are those ones, a lot of them were left out because this was for the masses, and the masses didn't
Mhm.
need to know this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So now I know that a lot of, and I really appreciate you exploring this field because a lot of people would not. A lot of people frown on that kind of stuff. You know, it doesn't exist, blah blah. But I appreciate the fact that you do this. I mean, it's part of the paranormal, right? It's something that we don't understand. It's been with us through history, and it's such a taboo kind of subject that very few people that I know actually do what you do. It's
mhm.
incredible that you actually kind of pursue this kind of stuff, and I'm sure a lot of people frown on it, going demonology, demons, and blah 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 blah, and they all you get trolls and stuff, and people say yeah, it's not true. But I
Oh yeah.
really want to say that I appreciate the fact that you actually have the courage to actually pursue this kind of stuff because a lot of people would not.
Well, thank you very much, and believe me, it can be tough at times. Like my family has suffered a lot of grief from it before, so a
I can
few times
imagine.
over. Yeah.
I can imagine. Now, okay, so let's say demons. How do they exactly relate to exorcisms? Now, a lot of people may say that possessions could that be mental disorders. A lot of people say that it's not a
Mhm.
demon, it's not something supernatural. It's just people suffering from mental disorders, and people mistake it for maybe a possession or maybe a possession by a demon. Is that possible?
That's absolutely correct. That's why before any action as a towards an exorcism and all, we have to have some them go for a full psychiatric
Okay.
evaluation, full medical evaluation, because there are so many different medical conditions. Like I had one woman years ago, uh, never made it to exorcism,
Yeah.
but she actually had an aneurysm in her brain, and it was pushing on her frontal lobe, and it was causing her to have all the symptoms of
As like a
as a
possession.
possession. Yeah,
Okay.
and she refused. She finally went. Her son took her to the hospital, and when her son got her there, that's when they found it, and they were like, "This could have killed you."
Mhm.
But
Aneurysm, yeah, you could, yeah.
yeah, but she was so afraid to go to the doctor and tell them what was going on for fear that they would think she was crazy,
Mhm.
that she would rather sit and believe it was a demon and get us to come in and try and exorcise it. But as I
Yeah.
said, we
Yeah.
you have to look at those natural physical explanations because there are so many neurological issues that could happen, so many mental issues, so many like diseases that like we're even still finding diseases now that we
Yeah.
didn't know about. So these are all things that have to be explored before we can even consider doing an exorcism. Otherwise, we conduct an exorcism, doesn't fix it. Well,
Well, no, because
why not? Well,
it's a
because
physical disorder.
that wasn't the problem. Like
Yeah, and there's been actual real cases where I don't remember who it was, but there was a girl that got exercised, and I think the priests and the
Annalise Michelle.
parents, is that the
It
one
was
it was? Yeah, and
that was
ended
Annalise
up in
Michelle.
court, and they
Where
got charged with a
the
manslaughter or something like that because they didn't take care of her. She died because of her.
the two
Um,
Catholic priests actually went to jail for that, and that was when the church stopped being as open to the exorcism as they were.
yeah, I
And
can
since
imagine.
then, things have gotten a lot worse,
Yeah, well,
unfortunately.
I can imagine, especially after a case like that. I guess it puts a lot
Yeah.
of, like I said, dark shadow on top of it, right?
Hmm.
Because of that one case.
Yeah, but again,
Yeah,
that's the whole separation of science and religion.
yeah,
They didn't.
yeah,
They went in. They saw this. They just said, "Okay, this has got to be a demon," rather than can we send her and get her looked at and see what else is going on here.
yeah, yeah. So they didn't
So
look for the natural causes.
I don't think they did. No.
Yeah, and
Like
that's that. That
I don't have access to the whole file, obviously, because
yeah,
that's a sealed file because of courts and all that.
obviously,
But
yeah.
yeah, and it's a Vatican file. I mean,
Hmm.
but at
Hmm.
the same time, they would. The only way I can see that happened that way is that they did not look into could this be something other than an exorcism.
Hmm. And then they went overboard, and this girl ended up losing her life because of it.
Yeah, like she
So
died
I'm
of
assuming,
starvation. She
yeah,
died of
because
starvation. So I
yeah,
mean, obviously, her well-being wasn't being watched for.
yeah. So I'm assuming when you get into these cases, you're much more cautious because of past potential cases where things were misdiagnosed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 No, we like my background is primarily parapsychology. That's where I started.
Mhm.
So I like to look for those natural things like that first, and
Mhm.
the rest of the team are the same. We want to find a natural explanation before we look for anything. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I am one of the hard like as paranormal investigators, I find we are our hardest critics
Oh
because we
shit,
have
yeah,
to
we are.
because we
We are. We
have to
have to
be.
be. We have to be.
Yeah,
You have to be critical
yeah,
of all your stuff.
yeah. Like until I see somebody floating like a foot off the ground with marks on their neck speaking in Latin, I'm gonna look at it and be like, "There's got to be a natural cause for this." Once that
Yeah.
happens, it's like, "Okay, we're calling Plato."
I'm telling you, John, if I see somebody float up off the ground, I'm running out the friggin' front door. That's just see ya. No, we shouldn't do that. I mean,
You'd
that's what
think
we
that,
look
but
for.
the first time
Yeah.
our jaws just dropped and we just stood there staring like, "Oh my lord."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of like another show I talked to was Mark and Cheryl, and we said,
Mhm.
yeah, when you do paranormal investigation, shit can get real
Very fast.
very fast,
Yeah.
in a heartbeat. Okay, so cases now, how dangerous can it be to do exorcisms and be into demonology? Like, how dangerous could it be to you emotionally and physically?
Incredibly. I've seen multiple demonologists that have, committed suicide because they
Yeah,
just couldn't handle it anymore.
yeah, the
I've
emotional stress,
seen
like a PTSD type thing.
Yep. I've seen
Yeah.
some where, the client themselves, they actually would attack and injure or possibly kill exorcists, their helpers.
Yeah.
Uh, like, it's incredibly dangerous. Like, I have seen that. I mean, I've been in a building before with Bishop Plato, and
Mhm.
we had objects that came flying at us that we saw and move, but had they hit us in the head,
Mhm.
we could have been killed, or we could have actually had like serious concussions, things like that. Like it's incredibly
Mhm.
dangerous when you're dealing with this.
Yeah.
Like
And I
it's not just like when we're in a regular hunt for a spirit, and you're like, okay, just
Mhm.
touch me, make a noise, and they just
Yeah.
push over a book or a card or something. We're
Yeah.
talking like we're talking like knives, we're talking books, we're talking like rocks that are
Stuff
like
gets
a
thrown around.
foot thrown at us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually believe that because my like I've been into the paranormal since probably late 90s, and I lived in the house
Hmm.
back in the early 2000s where and my wife is the biggest skeptic ever.
Hmm.
But this place was there was shit going on there, and we actually had candle holders fly off the shelves and almost hit her in the head.
Hmm.
How do you explain that? I mean, I know this shit happens because I saw it, like, she was sweeping, and I saw this thing fly across the shelf, almost hit her in the head and hit the wall across the living room. This was during the day,
Yep.
and it's like, how does this happen? I know it's there, it exists.
Hmm.
Now, was it a demon? Was it, some kinda negative energy that did it? I saw it. I wasn't drunk. It was during the day. I wasn't drinking. I've never did drugs in my life.
Hmm.
My wife is a skeptic, and she witnessed it, and
I
we
love
all
how
went like, "What the hell just friggin' happened here?"
yeah. I love how we have to say it was during the day I wasn't drinking,
Yeah, I know.
but
Because
no,
if
I
it's like a Saturday night that, I don't know,
yeah,
maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, go, maybe I had a few too
it's like
many, and, yeah, I was imagining, so, "Whoa, what the hell is that?"
yeah,
Maybe I just
but
knocked it
no,
over myself.
but no, I have seen things like that, and yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean demonic. That's a thing. That's
Mm-mm.
one of the other things we would look at. I mean, there is
Yeah.
I've seen poltergeist activity, which is RPSK or SPK, where
Mm.
things like that have happened,
Yeah.
and it's a poltergeist.
Yeah.
They have
I
that
think
ability to have that kind of strength. But I
yeah.
mean, if that was
I think it
happening
was a
like every
poltergeist.
day, oh yeah, yeah. If it was happening like
That's
every day, I'd be starting to look a little closer at what's going on at that point. But
well, it happened once. It
yeah,
happened
because I
once during the
remember
day when
I remember there was one place when I first met my wife. We lived here in Ottawa. I won't say where, but I do remember everybody that went in that place said this place does not feel right.
yeah,
Upstairs, it always felt like at the end of the hallway was where our room was. Our
yeah,
roommate was across from us, and anyone who went up and just stared down that hallway just felt uneasy. And
yeah,
then at night, all the doors had to be shut because you just felt like something dark was watching.
yeah,
I remember that so well, and we had so many things going on. I remember one time I was sitting there with myself, my roommate, and my wife's two kids, All the doors upstairs are locked because we got teenagers, so we had to lock some of our stuff in the room so they wouldn't get into it.
Hmm.
All the doors upstairs open and slammed at the same time 3 times, which for
Yeah,
us was like,
that's
yeah, for us, we're like, "What in the
that
hell?"
just defies the laws of physics. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and
It's
they're locked. That's the
yeah,
thing, they were locked.
yeah.
And, we would also we had this at one point, I thought electrical issues, because we had a hair dryer that kept turning on
Hmm.
all the time,
Yeah,
but it was the only appliance in the entire house, and I tried moving it to multiple different, outlets just to see,
yeah,
it's the one outlet in the bathroom and it's surging, it turns it on. Okay, we got an electrical issue. I'm
yeah.
putting it in different ones, and it's doing it in, like, every outlet. Like, the whole house
Hmm.
isn't surging, otherwise we'd have more things acting up, and the only thing acting up is this one hair dryer.
Yeah,
And I actually took it to be looked at, and the guy who looked at it said, "There's nothing wrong with it."
yeah. That's weird.
So that was another one of those, but yeah, that place, that was a very interesting place to live, I can tell you. Yeah.
And that's the kind of
It
place you
actually
want to
turned
get
it
into.
actually yeah, it actually oh, now yeah, exactly. But that was the house that actually turned my wife from a, skeptic to, a little bit more of a believer.
And actually, that's the same thing with my wife. When I first met her and she came to that place I lived in, she went,
Yeah.
"Oh, maybe there's some truth to this because a candle holder flying off a shelf 18
Yeah.
feet further is not. It's not normally. Anyways, a lot of
Mhm.
a lot of other
Yeah.
shit went on in that
Well,
house
it's
that kind of went. Okay, it's I can't explain this by the laws of physics. It just doesn't make
well,
any sense.
it's like Jason Hawes said, "A skeptic is just a believer who hasn't had an experience yet."
Exactly. Once you get an experience when something flies across your head and defies the laws of physics, then you're going to believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Some people just need to see it to believe it.
exactly, exactly.
And
So
those that do not believe it, I hope to God nothing ever happens to change your mind.
may a candle holder fly across your head. You tell them that. Okay. So we have a question here from Brandon again. Would it be just as easy for a demon to take advantage of the situation by making them seem mentally ill to keep themselves incognito? That's a pretty good
That
question, actually.
is that is actually one of the things that they actually do. They will, when they pick their target, they love to actually just almost like schizophrenia. They'll be talking in their ear saying, "These people are worthless. They're not going to believe you." And what they're trying to do is isolate the victim and get anyone who could help them away from them. So they
Yeah.
will do exactly what Brandon is saying, and it's one of their greatest tactics because that's what
So
they want to
manipulation,
yeah, they want to
manipulate.
manipulate this person and get them so that they have to do as they say.
Yeah.
So because there's nobody else to help them at that point.
Mhm, mhm. That's
And
that's
yeah, a
pretty
lot of
cool,
the
actually.
time it does look like mental illness. Like it definitely would look like schizophrenia to some,
Mhm,
depression. It can look like any number of things. But yeah,
mhm,
that is definitely one of their main tactics. And one of the things
mhm.
we look for a lot when we're dealing in those types of cases.
To find out that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why,
Okay,
as I
so
mentioned, I have a member who actually worked in mental health, and she does a lot of our intake interviews just to see, like, okay, this is what we're looking at, and she'll be present for a lot of times when I'm talking to clients. She'll be
yeah,
watching to see, like, okay, is there something more going on? Should we be sending them to see someone professionally, or is
yeah,
there something else here?
yeah, yeah. Very cool,
Hmm.
very cool. So in a case, how would you protect yourself? Like if when you do an exorcism or you're dealing with demonology or what you believe to be a potential demon or evil kind of entity, how do you protect yourself when you're in those situations?
Everyone has their own belief, and I have mine. I was brought up Christian, so I follow a lot of the Christian beliefs.
Hmm.
I'll say my prayers. I'll talk to Plato. Plato will actually, that's our bishop, the archbishop I work with. He will
Okay.
actually like do communion, take confession, all this stuff from us. We'll have like different items on us that we've actually had blessed as protections. We all try to we say the prayers that we need to protect ourselves. We just and at the same time, there's other things like I do use a little bit of psychic self defense, where
Hmm.
I've read one book that I read was Amanda Michelle Belanger's Ghost Hunter Survival Guide. It teaches
Yeah.
you how to put up certain psychic defenses and things like
Like
that. And
barriers,
yeah, and I
putting
don't
up
know if it.
barriers. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually work, but by
Hmm.
putting them up, it makes me feel better. It comforts me, and when I'm comforted, that means they have less chance of getting to me because in order
Hmm.
for them to get to me, they have to instill that fear. They have to find some way in. So
Hmm.
as long as I believe they can't get in, then they
Hmm.
can't.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's weird? Have you ever seen the movie 13 Ghosts?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know when they have those glass shields with all the writing and they have to abide by that and they can't
Yeah. By the
cross that?
spells.
It's
Yeah.
it's yeah, and I kind of believe in that in my own
Hmm.
I'm a skeptic. I'm very critical about myself, but I kind of my spiritual side. I'm pagan, so I'm not. I was born Catholic Christian, but I'm pagan.
Hmm.
So I believe in that kind of energy that there's certain rules that everybody has to follow, whether you're
Yeah.
living or dead, whether you're a demon, whether you're some kind of weird entity. I believe that there's some kind of
Hmm.
rules that we all have to abide by. Same thing with the rules of the laws of physics. We have to abide by that,
Yeah.
and also the all those that kind of stuff. So anyways, I thought that movie was kind of cool. It's kind of like that same thing as that barrier going. Okay, this is what's in front of you, and you cannot cross that. I mean,
Yeah.
my critical skeptic side said, yeah, it doesn't exist. But then my spiritual side says, well, yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm kind of like,
Hmm.
I have one person here and I have one person there, and they're constantly fighting all the time for me. It's like my logical side and then my spiritual side that kind of constantly clash.
Yeah.
But I
It,
see your point. I see your point that
uh,
there's a certain barrier that you form, and you say, listen, you can't cross this, and I'm putting this barrier up, and forget it.
yeah.
You're not gonna cross it.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all it is. That's all it takes. It's that mental block that keeps them back because
Yeah.
they know they can't. They need me to let them in,
Yeah.
and I won't as long as I feel protected. And it's
Exactly,
funny. It's
exactly.
funny that you actually mentioned the 13 Ghosts. I love that movie as well. But
Yeah,
there
yeah.
actually are, believe it or not, rules that have to be followed in the demonology world as well.
As well, yeah.
There are rules. You may have heard me mention it before. The rules of engagement. These are things
Yes,
that,
yes.
as a demonologist, we've been taught and we know. And these are the rules that the demons actually have to follow in order to even get involved in a haunting.
Mhm,
So those are one of them is actually the rule of innocence, and that
mhm.
would be similar to like I guess those spells on the wall, where they
Yeah.
cannot actually like realistically demons are this powerful they could just literally do whatever they want, take people over, and that would be it. That's it, right? But they're
Yeah.
not able to because the rules have been placed on them, and one of those is the rule of innocence, where
Mhm,
they cannot do any serious harm until they have identified themselves as a demon to the people there. At that
mhm.
point, those people they are innocent because they didn't know. They need to get out and away. That's why when I'm in a situation like that, I actually tell my team, everybody out right now, except for our specialized personnel that know how to
Yeah.
handle these things. So we
Mhm,
would send them out and yeah, but if you do come back into that situation after it's
mhm.
identified itself, then you're fair game.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
when things tend to go bad.
yeah. So what kind of equipment would you use at let's say an exorcism or when it comes to demonology? Like what is it you would use? Is
I
it more
use
religious items or other kind of
I
stuff?
do I do keep like I use all the regular paranormal equipment to try and monitor things and just prove that there's
Mhm.
something other than natural causes there, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I am involved in a demonic case, I do have a number of different religious items, articles that we bring with us and we use. My archbishop actually made me made me a little kit that we call our just in case.
Just in case kid.
It's
Yeah.
essentially
Is it maybe the holy shit case? The holy shit case.
pretty well. It's basically an exorcism on the go kit. So
Yeah.
everybody
It's
else, everybody else on the team is like, "Did you bring the just in case?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got
yeah.
it." Like, all right, good,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going in.
Yeah, we're good, we're good, we're
But
good.
no,
We got all we need.
yeah, but no, we have that. We have a number of other things. But yeah, generally when you're doing something like that, it's just we use the same stuff we would for any other paranormal investigation. It's just we do keep a few of these religious items
Extra
around as
items,
well.
religious items. Because
Yeah.
demonology and exorcisms is it's very religious related, I would say, right? It has a lot to do with religion.
Absolutely. Like, absolutely. Like, every religion, every major religion on earth actually has their own version of demons.
Yeah,
And
and I actually agree
and
with that.
and and,
Every religion
and
in the
none of it.
world has a version of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And when we're dealing with it, we have to look at the people that we're
yeah,
dealing with. Because
yeah,
I can bring so many Catholic priests into a Jewish home, it won't make a difference because it's not going to do a freaking thing because they don't
yeah,
believe in the priest.
yeah.
So I same thing. I couldn't bring a Jewish rabbi into a Muslim home for more reasons than one, um, but it wouldn't work because they
Yeah,
don't believe in what he's doing. So that's the
exactly.
other
Different
thing we
belief
have.
systems.
Yeah, and each one of those,
Exactly.
the demons, the jinn, the any other name you can come up with for them, and
They'll have different
yeah,
names for it.
yeah, those entities are essentially part of that belief system. And in order, as I mentioned before, the only way they can get to you is if you allow them. And in order for us to
Hmm.
remove them, we have to make these people know and believe in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with belief as well. If you want it to
Exactly.
work, you got to believe in it.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
So we got a question. Another Brandon here. Super curious. What would you say is the biggest difference between real experiences and what is depicted in the movies? And what is the one that most typically is spot on? I guess like depending like real life as opposed to what happens in movies.
Oh man. Uh,
Too much
well,
to
you
say.
you and I were talking off air about this with like the head spinning 360 degrees
Yeah,
like that. Like
yeah.
they're still bound to those
That's
rules of
movie.
physics. Like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's
That's movie.
absolute
So
movie. And
yeah.
in a movie, they're going for shock and awe, right? They want to
Well, of
scare
course.
you. They want to make it like, "Oh my lord, did you just see that?" That's what they want. In
Yeah.
reality, no, they're it's so much more disturbing because it's not, "Oh, we have to watch our like our rating or our TV-18 rating, whatever," right?
Hmm.
In
Yeah.
reality, it's just all bets are off. Like you're looking at
Yeah.
some nasty, nasty stuff. Now, there were a couple of movies that were actually pretty good at depicting it. There was one I watched a little while ago. I can't remember the name
Yeah.
of it. It was a couple of years ago. But
There's a
the
couple of good
gentle,
ones out there.
oh, there are a few, and there was one that was
Yeah.
I thought was actually really realistic. Plato actually likes to say that the movie The Right with Anthony Hopkins,
Yes, that was a good one. Yeah.
that that one is
It'd be closer.
fairly close, but the possession parts are still toned down slightly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So would you
but
say it's more when you come to doing this kind of stuff, would it be more on a physical aspect or more an emotional? That's the what it takes its toll on. Is it more I mean the movies will play a lot on the
mhm,
physical, like the exorcist, the head spins around, and we
yeah,
all know about the cross scene and all this stuff, and
hmm
the bed banging around. Would it be like if it's the real, like when you actually do these things, would it be more you're affected emotionally and less of that physical stuff going around?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There's much more emotional and mental um,
Stress.
stress than there is physical in
Beds
these things.
bouncing
Like
around and all that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
there is still physical stress, believe me, because one of the things is incredible strength. Like I had one woman. Like I'm an auto mechanic. Plato himself, he's about 6'2". He works in
Mhm.
the hospital. He's a larger guy, and
Yeah.
another of my investigators, who's a contractor, Craig. We had this one small woman, and she was throwing the three of us around like we were rag dolls, and there
Oh,
was
yeah.
no way. And she was like half our size, like half our height, and there was no way she should have been able to do this. Like this is the
And this you think
things
is
that
because of some kind of possession where she ended up with these, like, superhuman strength and just
that is
it
one
just
of the
ranks.
thing. That is one of the things. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that
it's
was actually
superhuman
during
strength, yeah.
yeah, that was
And
actually
that
during
and
a
that
possession when this happened. Well, or sorry,
yeah.
during an exorcism when this happened. So, yeah, we believe she was freed. We do believe that was another one there. But yeah, things like that
Mhm.
do happen. But generally, it's the emotional and the mental that takes the heaviest toll on you, and you see a
That's
lot more of
heaviest
that.
toll when you do this kinda stuff, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, personal experiences now, how many, like, can you share a few personal experiences that you've had during exorcisms without being too without compromising any kind of confidentiality. Maybe mention one of your biggest
Mhm.
experiences you've had without
Um,
compromising confident.
no, of course, of course. Uh, I've been on multiple ones where people would start speaking dead languages, like
Oh yeah.
Aramaic, Latin, things like that. And these are languages these people had never been anywhere near. They've never
Hmm.
heard. They were never at all involved with.
Yeah.
I've heard that. I have seen a woman lifted off the floor about 2 inches
Wow.
by an unseen hand because we could see the handprint like that on her throat lifting her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we've like some things like that, and those are things like you can't unsee. You're just
You
like,
can't unsee
ah.
when you see that kind of stuff. So personal experiences could be quite frequent, especially with doing this kind of work.
I wouldn't say quite frequent, but if you find a true demonic case,
It's pretty intense.
it's gonna do stuff like that because that's what it wants to do to scare you.
So basically, hold on to your knickers because you're going for a hell of a ride.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, John, this is a super interesting subject. But I ask everybody to send me some kind of piece of evidence that you captured. So you actually sent
Mhm,
me a piece of video today of
mhm,
something you captured on video, which is interesting because we talked about earlier that video is something rare. We don't really capture a lot of video often. It's mostly audio and some other stuff. So
mhm.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm actually going to bring up the video, and I'll whoever's viewing right now, I'll let them determine what they think they see. I haven't actually looked at it yet, but I'll bring it up right now
Okay.
if I can find it. There we go. Where is it? Let's gotta go down my list. There we go. Okay, coming up.
I just heard Casey. You heard what?
It was
Okay,
very
I know exactly. Right side,
it was
right
very
side. I
s it
saw.
was very subtle on that right side, you'd see it, and it looks
Yeah, I
like
saw something
it
kind of
comes
come in,
out
and then
and
suddenly came. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna
yeah.
play that again. Hold on. Let's show people here.
I just heard Casey. You heard what?
Yeah, I saw that right on the right side of the
Yep.
screen, like some kind of wasn't dark. It was more like it was a little paler, but some kind of something came out the right side. Nobody was moving.
Nobody was moving. We
So
have,
you weren't able to debunk this one?
I've yet to figure it out. Like, I've had people
Yeah.
say, "Could it be the strap on your camera?" But the first thing I do when I buy my cameras is those straps come off,
Yeah. Yeah,
because
because they
I
can
don't want
swing
that to
around. They
happen.
can
Yeah, they'll
they can swing
swing.
around the camera, yeah.
And the other thing
That's
with that, when you look at it, the color is almost white. Through all the
yeah.
videos I've seen with all my investigators, everyone was wearing black.
Yeah.
So the shirts don't even look like that in that lighting.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
That's kind of weird
as I
because
was
it
mentioning to
doesn't.
you, as I was mentioning to you off air, we actually had one of the DVR cameras behind us, and it sees all four of us standing still at the exact moment that
And you're
happens.
not moving, and you're not moving, and I can see that, but it's kind of weird because it's not a dark shadow. It's more like a almost like a pale kind of thing that comes around. It's almost like it's
Hmm.
got like very sharp angles, but I noticed it right away. It's
Yep.
not like, well, what the hell am I looking for? I noticed it right away. It was on
Mhm.
the right side, and I saw that thing come in and go out. And if nobody was moving, then you got to figure out, okay, what the hell was doing it?
Yeah. And the other thing
You know?
too, some people say it almost looks like see through, but for me, I've actually tested a few different materials, and for me, it looks like almost some sort of like lace. Like a thin lace or a satin, like really
Yeah,
thin, almost like a dress coming through.
yeah.
That's the
Actually,
that's the that's the one material that I can see that even comes close to looking like that. And the
yeah,
report is in that room of a woman.
yeah. Even Brandon commented, "Oh my God, yes!" So he saw it as well.
Mhm.
And then oh, I thought it was a crew member at first. That's nuts. So that's
Yep.
so obviously. And then we got Lawrence, or one of our investigators. Any thoughts on Bathsheba Sherman? If you know who that is.
I have no idea who that is.
Okay. Well, we have some research to do, but thanks for the question, Lawrence. So I think me and John are going to research who
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking
Bathsheba
into that one
Sherman.
later.
Yeah, as soon as you get off air, I'm going to look into that. Who's Bathsheba Sherman?
This better not be one of
And
these jokes that's going to turn into like a jump scare or something on me.
yeah, they're gonna actually kind of right in your face. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we have Selena here. Long day. Oh, Selena. So, long day at work. Selena's one of our. She tunes in every time. But long day at work. Dan is
Mhm.
live. Hello, everyone. Hi, Selena. Thanks for tuning in again. And we have Lawrence here in relation to the Conjuring House. Bathsheba Sherman. That's what she said. So it's in relation to the Conjuring House.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
have to look
So
in to see who they're talking about because I know a few people down there, but that name
yeah,
doesn't sound familiar at all.
doesn't
Unless
ring.
he's
It doesn't.
somebody, unless he's a YouTuber who went in and did something. At which point I would. It's probably why I just ignored it.
Yeah. So we have some more homework to do, John. Big
Yep,
time. We got
definitely.
to find out who Bathsheba Sherman is. Okay, so we've been on for like an hour and 15 minutes. I think this was a
Mhm.
great show, John. It was a subject that a lot of people do not want to cover, and I appreciate the fact that you actually into this field because a lot of people don't do it. I mean, you're the only
Mhm.
person that I know that actually does this kind of stuff, and it's interesting. And I'm going to get a lot of flack from this. Oh, demons don't exist,
Oh
and
yeah.
blah blah blah. And people are not going to believe, but that's just their own beliefs. But
As
when it
as
comes
I
to
mentioned,
paranormal, it's an open field, right? It's so many things we have to investigate.
as I mentioned before, a skeptic is just a believer that's never had an experience. And
Yeah,
for those that think it's not real and have never had an experience like that, I hope nothing
yeah,
ever happens to change your mind. I
yeah.
honestly
Because
do,
if it does, you're gonna become a believer
or worse,
or
because
worse.
I've
Yeah.
had so many cases like that when people would come to me and they're like, "I never believed in any of this," and they're like, "Now I'm like losing my mind. I
Until
can't believe
until
this."
somebody threw a goddamn rock at my head. Now I'm a believer,
Yeah, exactly.
more or less. Yeah. Okay, John. So I'm going to sign off. I'm going to sign you off, and I'll just going to I'm going to close down. I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight. I really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate what you do. I think it's a field that a lot of people frown upon,
Hmm.
may not believe in, but somebody's got to do it, right?
Absolutely. And thank you
And
so much for having me. It was a great night. Look forward to doing it again sometime. And hopefully one of these
I
days you and I can actually get out on a case together. I
actually I
promise
would
I'll
love
go I
that.
promise I'll go easy on you.
Please do. But I would love that. I would love, John. I would love to cooperate on an investigation with you and actually put our teams together and see what we can come up with at some kind of location somewhere.
Yep. Works for me, man.
All right,
We'll
John.
set it up once things start going again.
Well, I hope with COVID, it's kind of tough, but I hope we can actually get something going.
Yep.
Okay,
Sounds
John,
good,
you
man.
have a good night. Thanks again for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, John Moore from O.P.R.I, demonologist, and hopefully we'll be investigating with you at one point.
Sounds good to me, Dan. You guys have a
Okay,
great
John.
night and I'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Sounds good, John. Have a good night.
Hey, bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everyone. So this was John Moore from O.P.R.I, which stands for Ottawa Paranormal Research and Investigation. John Moore is a demonologist, and we covered the subject of demonology and exorcisms this evening. Very controversial subject, and it's something I wanted to bring to the forefront of the paranormal field because not a lot of people actually do this. And I appreciate John for actually, you know, actually going into this field because I think it's amazing that somebody will actually pursue this side of the paranormal world. So, anyways, we have some more. Brandon was here. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to Ghost Talks Live again this Saturday. We will be live again. I'm just going to check my schedule here. Next show will be, let me see here. This is John. Okay, so next show will be actually next weekend. So this is another subject that I'm going to bring up to the forefront of the paranormal field. So it's psychics and mediums. I know a lot of paranormal researchers frown on psychics and mediums. I personally don't totally believe in psychics and mediums, but I think it's something we need to talk about. I mean, a lot of people use them. A lot of people, I think, have that kind of talent. I think there's a lot of fraudulent people out there as well. But I think it's something we still need. Same thing what I did with John. Demonology, exorcism is something we need to bring to the forefront of the paranormal field. It's something we need to talk about. And I think psychics and mediums is something we need to talk about as well. How do they fit into the paranormal field? So on the 26th, I will be live with José Longchamp, a local medium from Cornwall. I know her personally. She knows that I don't have a strong belief with psychics and mediums, but I think we will have a great conversation with her. So again, tune in. Thanks to those who actually tuned in tonight and tuned into the Ghost Talks live feed, and tune in again on March 26th. Yes, 26th for the next episode of Ghost Talks live feed. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. And thank you, John, once more for being live on this show. Guys, take care and have a great weekend. I'm going to put my banner. Hold on. Hold on. I got to find this. Okay, there we go. I got it. All right, guys, have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. See you on March 26th.